What's up, everybody? Welcome to another brand new live episode of Game Time here on the Outlaw Nation channel. I'm the Outlaw John Rocha here. Excited to be welcoming back these two lovely people who hung out with me last week as well. We're going to talk about all things going on in the week 10 in the NFL, a little NBA news as well, answer your questions, your Streamlabs, and your Super Chats as we get going here on the show. Let me first introduce my man, fresh from a plane from Dallas, Winston A. Marshall. How are you, man? You must be glowing with the Cowboys, but also glowing because you went and saw this thing in Dallas.
I'm going to give everybody 5 seconds to turn down their volume right now. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. How about them Cowboys? Let's go! Let's go! Falcons, who doesn't burn all your face? How about them Cowboys? Woo!
That was a hell of a thing. They certainly bounced back for sure. We're going to get into it as we go along. And joining us yet again for another week here, and thankfully so, she's also glowing from a decisive victory over the Browns there with her Patriots. Haley Kahn, how are you, Haley?
I'm good. I'm so happy to be back. And hell yes, definitely glowing. Oh. Yeah.
People enjoyed you being on the show last week. Tell me what you're feeling now coming into the second week of being on the show. Did you like the fans' response? And people gave you some nice comments in the YouTube section as well. What do you think about all that?
Yeah. Oh my God. Everyone was so nice and welcoming, and definitely feel more, got the first show out of the way. That's always a fun one, kind of getting the feel of everyone and the back and forth. And now I'm just wicked excited to be back and kind of get in the groove.
The Boston just came out again.
Yeah.
I really get excited. I was like, oh, Lord.
I decided I'm not hiding it anymore. It's just going to exist now.
Yeah. Why would you on a sports show? That makes no sense.
Right?
Bring the Boston.
Exactly.
And as I said, we're going to get into all the stuff going on here in week 10 in the NFL and the NBA. And of course, answer all your Streamlabs Super Chats. The Streamlabs address right above Winston's head there. It's also in the description of this video. And I'm going to pin it to the chat as we go along. So don't be light. Send in some support. Send in some love. Ask any questions you want to ask us. Maybe you want to get to know Haley a little bit more, or Winston A's experience in Dallas. Send in those questions and we'll answer them all on the show as we go along. All right, let's start the big place we need to start, and that's Aaron Rodgers. Well, he's back. Played yesterday against these Seahawks, led them to a 17-0 victory here over the Seahawks. A.J. Dillon was really doing a lot of the workhorse job here for the Packers here. He scored 2 fourth-quarter touchdowns, and they beat the Seattle Seahawks 17-0. Seattle was shut out for the first time in a decade. Rodgers went 23 of 37 for 292 yards. He did throw an interception in the end zone in the third quarter, but the Packers won for the 8th time in their last 9 games. So, Winston, I don't know if you were in Dallas, but I watched this game, man, and they were bending over backwards to explain the Aaron Rodgers situation. It really left a bad taste in my mouth seeing these professional, high-level A-team announcers try to explain away what Aaron Rodgers did here. What do you think about his play here? And do you think we're just going to brush past all this if he takes the Packers to the Super Bowl?
I mean, here's the thing. We're just gonna be real about it. You mentioned it last show. The fact that he got a fine, which wasn't even a slap on the wrist, it was literally like don't you ever do that again? It's what you kind of said. It's white privilege. It's star privilege. Yeah. They were really going to wash it away, let alone that the media focused on the fact that, like, Aaron gets misty at the end of game. Yeah. Oh, it's so good to be back. We can never take winning for granted. So here's the thing. It is what it is. The people that feel the way about Aaron Rodgers are going to feel that way about Aaron Rodgers. Right. We know, as things have happened in the media with sports, with anything else, you can flip-flop as far as how people feel you instantaneously. Yeah. And the truth was, the more Aaron Rodgers shut the fuck up, the more people that loved him already were going to come back around. Yeah. So here's the thing. He's playing okay. Yeah. Like almost 300 yards is nothing to scoff at for sure. But, to go with an interception and no touchdown, a QBR of 29.6, it's a good thing that A.J. Dillon went next man up because with no Aaron Jones there, sure, you got some pretty decent yardage out of Devontae Adams, but nobody else on the offense really produced that much. Yeah. This was really coming down to this defense, which I will take back what I said. I was saying that they weren't very good, and someone said, you don't know what you're watching. And then I went back and saw some of the footage of them this week.
Yeah.
And they're actually pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
This is for once not a team really doing what they need to do because of Aaron Rodgers. If he gets back to standard Aaron Rodgers form, then this team quickly becomes one of the favorite. I mean, they already were one of the favorites, but I mean, like, they might even surpass Arizona, to be honest with you, as far as maybe the favorite to come out. Obviously, I'm biased and I'm going to say Dallas, but if I'm being really objective about this, if Aaron gets up to his standard level of play, then they're probably the most dangerous team in the NFC. But until then, like, I wonder if a lot of this was just the drama, and that's why he put up decent yardage numbers, but didn't make a massive impact the way the defense did.
And you know what's crazy about this, Haley? Dillon only had 21 carries for 66 yards and 2 catches for 62 yards and got those 2 touchdowns. But it wasn't like he was racking up 100-yard rushing day. They were just getting it piece by piece throughout the game. 3-0. The last time a team scored that low was 2008 after 3 quarters. So kind of a crazy score between these two high-powered offenses. And you had Russell Wilson coming back as well from that finger injury. He only threw for 161 yards and 2 interceptions. So what do you take away from this game? Do you take away that it's even more clear that Aaron Rodgers is the only answer in Green Bay? And is there trouble? But there's the trouble here that they only had 3 points going into the fourth quarter.
Well, I mean, I think the Green Bay's defense is the star here. I think that they for sure came out and they put pressure on Wilson. Granted, Wilson came out and said it wasn't his finger and that's not what caused him to make those bad plays. But you don't know. The dude just had surgery. Like, who knows what's going on with his finger? And doing hours of finger workouts probably isn't going to get you healed. Yeah, seriously. I'm like, what is a finger workout? Like, what are you doing that makes
I'm really sorry. I've been watching a lot of Archer. I have to say it. Phrasing. I'm sorry. Phrasing. Are we just not doing phrasing anymore? Like, what?
I think that's how it works. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think it was like a obviously a subpar like offensive game for both teams. I think Seattle's defense they didn't look terrible. I mean, they didn't look great, but like they definitely they were there a little bit. But I think, I mean, the Rodgers thing just drives me bananas because I said this last week too. I was like, I said that they were going to probably wash right over it because if he came out and he won this game and then people are just going to forget about it and just move on to whatever. And the Misty comment, I just wanted to, I was like, dude, come on. Like, so bullshit.
I was glad I was boarding a plane because I was like, you son of a bitch.
Right? I sat there and I was like, oh, watching that press conference, which was on Zoom, thank God, so that he didn't have to interact with anyone because now we all know he's not vaccinated. I'm like, this is ridiculous. Yeah. So I think, I mean, overall, it just shows that like the Packers are definitely still, they were a contender before, and then they lost that one game without him, and now they're back and they won that other. So I think people are going to keep saying they're the number one because with Aaron, they look like they are. But I don't know. I guess we're just going to have to see for sure because
I mean, a lot of people were coming after Tony Romo and Jim Nantz for them saying the things they said to kind of explain away Rodgers and him saying, and it seemed like this was a concerted PR move by the NFL to protect one of their quarterbacks here and keep him safe as much as possible. Winston, I think you're 100% right. The minute he shut up, people got a chance to like forget about it and then just focus on him coming back to play on Sunday. A lot of people might have an issue with this, like me, had him in his starting lineups in their fantasy team. So it's that kind of approach. He only get 11 points this summer, but like there's a approach here that like they're trying to kind of paper over the cracks here. Even saying, the misty comment, he said he felt misty coming off the field. His eyes got misty. That is not Aaron Rodgers. This is absolutely a concerted PR attempt to make him seem like he's the victim in this situation. And even the quote they put up where he said that if anyone felt misled or I misled some people or whatever, it's like, no, man, you lied. You lied.
They almost took it all away from me. They tried to cancel me with football. Oh God, you don't take it for granted anymore. oh, I didn't get to Lambeau League myself, but somebody did, and I just, oh God, it could all be gone in a second. Oh Jesus.
It just made me appreciate being a football player again. What the hell are you talking about? That's not Aaron Rodgers.
Him missing the guys. I've just missed the guys. It just felt so good to be back with them. I'm like, you dick. Like, come on. Shut up.
I mean, the same guy that was yelling at the Bears, I own you, is now all of a sudden misty-eyed 3 weeks later. Get the fuck out of here. Ridiculous. So it just seems to me like this is a huge PR move. And yeah, I think Romo and Nance absolutely deserve to get grilled over the coals for this because they're essentially told by the NFL to put these quotes up, these graphics up, and they're protecting one of their own. And of course, Romo is going to protect Rodgers. He's part of that quarterback club. Bradshaw can call him out because Bradshaw hasn't played since the 70s. So he's got no problem calling him out. But Romo still has to rely on access to these guys, rely on interviews with these guys, be a broadcaster. And I think it was a little, not that they needed to brush over it, but I wish they'd presented it a little more equally and show that maybe another side of this where but a lot of people really were upset that he in essence lied to them. That would have been a good balanced thing, but it's the NFL and this is what they do. It was sad to see, to be honest with you, man.
That to me is, I think, the thing that's the most interesting. The people that he pissed everybody off by lying. Mm-hmm. Sure, that's shitty. And then he said a bunch of things that also was gaslighting a lot of folks. So fuck him for that too. But I think the thing that's most interesting to me, he was technically putting the media at risk. He physically was putting them at risk because, again, the protocols are different if you're vaccinated or not. And he got his ruling from the NFL long enough to know that he is technically considered unvaccinated. So what's frustrating is to not see the media be like, dude, fuck you. You know what I'm saying? For them to immediately just be like, oh, well, it was a misunderstanding. And it literally, what it felt like, not to go that dark with it, but it's the type of situation where you end up with someone in a relationship getting physically abused and they're like, I'm done with this, fuck this. And then the minute like 3 days later, they're like, you know what, he didn't really mean it. What I mean? It was just a misunderstanding. It is what it is. I love it. It's one of those weird, abusive of power situations that essentially has happened. But again, I don't think we're that surprised. We know how the NFL ship runs. Yeah. So I wasn't expecting any of this to go the way where they would actually put some sort of stamp on Aaron. Dude, you fucked up. He's too much of a cash cow. The Packers being good is too important to them. Here we are.
Yeah. It's crazy, because I just don't take these things for granted. Walking off the field as a winner. It's fun beating that squad. We've had some battles over the years. Just walking out with my teammate who I have so much love and appreciation for. All of that was insane. And especially when you see how adamant he was about the situation. He said, there's always going to be criticism in this world. I don't define myself by the criticism, but I understand it's a part of this because this issue is definitely polarizing. That's a more magnanimous response. This is what he should have led with instead of going on a Pat McAfee show and, crying about the woke mob and the cancel culture and all that shit. It's just insane what he was doing. And now he's just adjusting. He's just, constantly pivoting to save his brand. That's what all this is. And it's ridiculous. And it sucks that people are going to forget about this in 2 or 3 weeks. Until he gets knocked out of the playoffs. If he goes out in the first round, mama, are people going to come after that guy for sure?
I think they'll still even be. I think they will. But as we've noted, the biggest thing with Aaron more than anything is that being as talented as he is, when he fucks up, he gets criticized hard. He gets compared to the other great quarterbacks, and that, as he's proven, is his kryptonite. Yep. He more so than pass rushers, more so than having some sort of crazy prevent defense, so he really can't get a receiver out there, is the criticism. Yeah. So I think for the same reason, after he said his piece, his PR team, dude, just shut up and the cycle will change. Yeah. I think he did the same thing here.
Yeah. So. You learn your lesson. All right, let's move on to this Cowboys game. Winston, your game of the weekend, 43-3. the Cowboys bounced back from that drubbing they got from the Broncos here to take care of business. Dak Prescott threw for 2 touchdowns. He ran one in. Ezekiel Elliott scored twice, and Nashawn Wright recovered a block punt in the end zone to help with this victory. Even Coach Mike McCarthy got involved in this by taking the ball to start the game instead of deferring after Dallas had won the coin toss. Prescott threw for almost 300 yards here, going 24 of 31. That's very efficient for Prescott here. And Matt Ryan was 9 of 21 for 117 yards, coming off this victory they had against the Saints last week. So, Winston, I go back to you again, and I'll swing back to Haley in the next 2 stories. But Winston, what do you think about this? What do you think about what did you see here, being in person, seeing live in the suite? Everybody was getting involved here with the Cowboys. Did they just meet the Falcons at the right time, or do you see this? This is what the Falcons are, and maybe that loss against the Broncos kind of woke them up a little bit more.
I think more than anything, we needed that loss to the Broncos. I don't think it necessarily need to be that much of a shellacking, but I do think the worse that it is, the more that it's a giant splashing of like ice cold water in the face. And I think that what Dak even said was so important. We were overconfident. We had been rolling through teams. You know, we had been doing all the things that we needed to do. So we overconfidently, especially after Cooper leading them to that victory over Minnesota.
Right.
We were like, we're untouchable. And then they got touched, and all of a sudden it was a hard reset. And I think you saw everything firing on all cylinders. Now, mind you, the Falcons aren't good. Let's just be real about that. They're not a good team. We were supposed to win here. But, hey, as we saw, Denver's not that good either, and they had their way with us. Yeah. And B, like the people that are like, well, you were supposed to win, even if that's the case, even playing bad teams, you don't necessarily win by 40 points. You know what I'm saying? Like winning by a touchdown or 2, then I might agree with somebody being like, but this is what I call a genuine bounce back, because you're talking about a team on all sides of the ball, offense, defense, and special teams, a block punt for a touchdown that everyone came to play, and everyone came to make a declarative statement that we are the best team in the NFC. And after the performances from the Cardinals, though they're missing both Hopkins and Murray, arguably the 2 best players on the team by far. Right. And then just the way the Rams played, which we'll get to that too. This is a pretty declarative statement, and it could honestly be argued at this point that we have climbed the top of the NFC, but there's a lot of contenders. So even if we're number 1, 2, 3, and 4 are like right there, you know? Right.
And coming up next, you've got a revitalized Chiefs team after that victory they had yesterday in Kansas City. Then you're playing the Raiders. Who knows what mindset they're going to be in when you play them. Then you're at the Saints. Then you play my Washington football team twice in 3 weeks. So very interesting schedule you guys have lined up here. And you finish out with the Cardinals and the Eagles. You and the Cardinals in that Week 16 matchup could be for the number 1 spot in the NFC.
Seed, man.
Exactly.
I agree. I think of all the games, at least, I mean, the Cardinals I'm worried about when we get there. I'm more worried about next week, because it looks like Patrick Mahomes is kind of snapped out of whatever funk he's in, and that defense woke up a little bit too. Right. Not really worried about the Raiders. There's too much drama. Not really, no offense, I'm not really worried about y'all. Once Chase Young went down, that was the reason I was concerned. Losing Chase, I was like, we can lose because it's a divisional game, but I don't see it as much now. The odds go down a decent amount because of that.
I'm not gonna I shed some tears yesterday. Yeah.
I'm so sorry, dog. But like what, Eagles, Giants, and that's it. Like I am not that concerned about the rest of our schedule, though the harder chunk of it is coming right now.
Yeah. Haley, I know you're not. I know you don't. You hesitate to heap praise on these Cowboys, and it hurts your soul to do so. But what did you see yesterday in this matchup with these Falcons? Yeah, the Falcons aren't a great team, but this kind of destruction, this in the middle of the season, do you think this is the Cowboys kind of showing you how great they could actually be when it's all hitting on cylinders?
Yeah, I mean, definitely hurts my soul. But I said not to overreact last week. Like
you did.
I did. Yeah. I said don't overreact on the loss, because, I mean, I've seen it time and again with great teams, and I do speak about the Patriots, obviously, but Cowboys too. I will admit they are a great football team right now, and I think that loss like Winston said, it kind of was a wake-up call. It was like a slap in the face. Oh, here we go. Like, this is how we, like, you got to get back up. So, I mean, yeah, like, oh, gosh, the pain is real. But I think they did great on both sides, like offense, defense.
Yeah.
I mean, Diggs with his, 8th interception in the season? Like, that's freaking, that's awesome. Like, that was a great game to watch for me because I was like, all right, this, first of all, I was patted myself on the back that I was right, that it would happen. I was like, all right, I kind of know what I'm talking about.
Wow,
so
2 weeks in and she's already a sports analyst. That's
Guys,
incredible.
Pro.
That's what they do. Pat themselves on the back. I respect it.
Yep, there we go. But no, I mean, yeah, of course the Falcons didn't look great, and then they took out Ryan in the third, and then they put their backup in. So I mean, clearly they knew that it wasn't going to be great. But yeah, they don't have any weapons on their team. It's hard. It's
aside of Cordell Patterson, they really don't have much. It's an excellent point you make there. I mean, Russell Gage is a good receiver, but Ryan is on the end, man. I mean, he might be sliding into Jake Delhomme territory here in the next year or two for sure. He might fall off the cliff. If he doesn't leave Atlanta, I think he's done. Like, he's finished, because it makes no sense for him to keep staying in that city and trying to do what he's doing. You're seeing the success that Matt Stafford is experiencing in LA. And we'll talk about later that 49ers game. His last 2 weeks, maybe not so great, but he was experiencing a rebirth there than as opposed to Goff. There's a place he can go. There must be some place, Washington, that he can go and become the quarterback for a year or two and help a team to the playoffs. So I'm just putting it out there for sure. But let's swing back to Winston. You were there in Dallas. Do you have pictures? Do you have?
I do.
I
don't
show
know.
us.
It should be right there at the bottom for you to be able to hit share on.
Let me add it to the stream.
So,
oh, look at that.
So
cool.
let's go back. We don't need to. So
no,
there's my.
There
you go. Right. So there's my.
Is that
dad
your brother?
My brother's the short one in the middle. Yeah. So he turned 50. That's my nephew. He just turned 19, and then that's my dad on the right there.
Your nephew looks like a mini version of Winston. Oh my god.
I know, right? So here's the stadium from the suite, which is kind of crazy. I'm trying to see. Now, this is the funny part. I don't know if it'll play the video. You probably can't hear it. I'm doing some funny. So this is just me showing the suite itself, which was wild. But let's see if I can get. I did a video commentary of the booth or the suite right to the left of us there. It was all Falcons fans. It was like a 16 or 20 of these motherfuckers all in this booth. And they went from that first drive where they scored a field goal being like, all right, good, 7-3, we got this, to silence. Hold on, let's see if I can. Let's see. I'm just like, look at them. Can you hear me?
Just on that? No, not at all. But they're yelling at the team.
I'm just literally saying somebody big mad. I said he's over here playing on Instagram. He don't even want to be here no more. So there's that right there. And then I did a couple more because they started to leave early. Let's see if those videos are there. Oh, so then
you got on the field.
So this is the cool part. So we were told we were going to be able to go on the field. Then we were told, nah, you can only go on the field if you bought a field pass or whatever. So then one of my play uncles, he was there. He's like, nah, man, look, follow Shanice right here. She going to take you down there. She going to handle it. And then she was like, Shanice goes, how the hell am I going to handle it? And she goes, just take them down there and tell them that they were supposed to be there. And then whatever. And if not, get somebody that's leaving the field, ask for their passes, and go down. And we were like, all right, we'll figure it out. So we get down there. And the guy, he's like, hey, man, you can't go down there. Shanice was like, hey, can you just like let them, like they were supposed to be, can you just like let them just go to the bottom part and I'll bring them right back. They just want to see it and come back. And he's like, all right, go down there. We get down there. We meet this one brother. I can't remember his name, but he's decked out in God knows how much jewelry. He's like, yeah, I do this all the time, son. Don't even worry about it. Like, you stay here. And there was like a Latino family that was also trying to get out. He's like, yeah, we got to look out for each other. I'm going to take all 5 of y'all down there. Don't even worry about it. So then eventually we did get down there. So I'm down here. He wants to be a rapper, but he's also like into like money management. So he just wanted out here and get his like Gen Z like stunting on him photos. So there's a lot of those. And then I, fake tackle him, and I'm out here doing my thing. It was cool, man. It was cool. And I think the only funnier thing, okay, that should be all of it. The only funnier thing about this entire thing is the fact that, like, so we thought we had the suite purely to ourselves because my dad, like, that shit is expensive apparently. So he split it with my play uncle so that, my play uncle could bring his family. My dad brought me and some of his poker buddies and his assistant and her son, whatever, right?
Right.
So there's 2 random black girls there who are decked in all Falcon shit in our suite. And I'm like, I looked at my nephew, I said, this shit about to be mad annoying. They're about to be cheering the whole fucking time. And then as it just got worse and worse and worse, I was like, oh, they having a bad time. And like a couple times, like, oh, sorry, ladies. And they're like, oh, shut up. But then I realized my dad, who just recently became single again, he and his girlfriend parted ways. I see this motherfucker over here with arms around ladies like, oh, ladies, it's okay. Don't worry about it. And I'm like, no, he's not. And he ends up inviting, because we took a party bus, like limo van, whatever, to the thing.
Yeah.
They end up on the bus with us back to the spot. And I literally look at my nephew and I go, bruh. Granddad gets home and shows him the new remodeled bathroom with the steam room. That's a wrap. I don't know how this happened, but your granddad, he has been a monster since he was 18, and here he goes again. And so it was just an absolute wild time, man. It was super cool. If there's ever a chance, obviously it's expensive. So like the individual, like since it's 16 seats in the suites, the individual ticket price is about $1,000. But if you ever are able to save the money to do that and go with friends or something like that, it is such a cool experience to see. My dad, who's very bougie, is like, I don't like being around the unwashed masses. So like by the time it's over, for someone who hates going to sporting events was like, that's it, I'm buying a box. And I'm like, you're gonna buy a box. That's what you're gonna do. So if that's something that you can do, I would recommend maybe for baseball games, because those tend to be cheaper. A lot of times you can do that, and like the price per ticket ends up being like $250 or $300. Again, if you split it amongst all your friends, I would just recommend it just between the food and the drink and the seating and all. It's so cool. So I know how blessed I am. Happy birthday to my brother, and it was dope, man. What a game to be there for.
That's true. If you're gonna go experience it, you want to go where your team's whooping some ass. That's true. If you're gonna go.
What if I had gotten that for the damn Broncos game, bro? 1 week prior, and I'm dying.
You'd have ended up with your dad and your cousins and your brother on their party bus.
On their bus.
The Broncos ladies party bus. We're gonna take it back to our place. That's great. All right, well, let's move on here to our next story here, and please remember the Streamlabs and Super Chats are up. We haven't seen anything from y'all. Send in some support, send in some love on the Super Chat Streamlabs address pinned to the chat, also right there on the screen and in the description of this video. Show some love. All right, let's move on here. The Washington football team. Speaking of NFC East player teams, now normally they don't make the opening block here because I'm very honest about my team, but they pulled a hell of an upset here, 29-19 over Tom Brady and his Buccaneers. They picked off Tom Brady twice in the first quarter. I thought, well, twice, and we only got 6 points. Oh boy, here comes Tom. He's going to stomp us. But no, the Washington football team was able to keep the Buccaneers at bay for a majority of the game, ended up winning this thing 29-19. Brady finished 23 of 34 for 220 yards. He did have 2 touchdowns in the second half, but Heineke, who played him so well last year in the playoffs, played him well again and got the victory this time. 26 of 32 for 256 yards. They did lose Chase Young, as you said there, Winston, in the first half, but they were able to still rally and do things in the second half to unsettle these Buccaneers. Haley, you've been through losses like this for Tom Brady. Tell me, does this mean something here? Where there's some cracks exposed in this Buccaneers team, and Bruce Arians did call them dumb in the press conference afterwards. So what's your feeling coming out of this victory for the Washington football team and a loss for the Buccaneers?
Yeah, I mean, the Washington defense figured it out. They knew what Tom Brady's weakness was, which, I mean, that's always been his weakness. If you put pressure on Brady, he gets super overwhelmed. As a Pats fan, that was all of our biggest fears. Watching games would be like, oh my God, if he gets pressure, he's going to throw weird shit. And that's, but or he's just going to get sacked, or who knew what was going to happen when they put pressure in. Washington, man, they put pressure. Their defense, that was they definitely figured out the weakness of Brady, and they definitely used that for sure. And then Heineke's, his last drive of that game, that 10.5 minute, 19 like play drive. That was so good.
Mhm.
Like, and that obviously sealed the deal because they took up almost the entire fourth quarter with that one play. So I'm like, I thought, I mean, I think they just, everything clicked for them on that game. I think Brady played terribly. I think, although I did think in the interview when Arians put they basically blamed the whole thing on Brady. I'm like, well, like, yes, Brady is blameful, but I think both sides could have played better, offense and defense. So I wouldn't just put one thing on Brady. It's a whole team thing. He might have felt dumb, but like, let's be real.
Right.
That's the thing. They still allowed, there wasn't a single defensive touchdown from Washington. They allowed for 29 points. So the defense has a lot to answer for. Mm-hmm. And I would even argue, looking at the interceptions, because someone was like, oh man, Brady just washed. And I'm like, okay, one of those is not his fault. One of those is a caught pass.
Yep.
And then he got hit and the ball popped up in the air. The other one was a terrible interception of Brady trying to do more than he could. And the truth is, I don't even necessarily think that it's like Brady making a bad decision as much as it is Brady has his favorite targets and they mind read each other. So he threw a ball at somebody that is not used to having that kind of timing with him and it completely blew it. That's the one thing that I will give Brady credit for. Mm-hmm. He obviously does a lot better when he has people that are fucking insane. I mean, the Randy Moss season, obviously Gronk, obviously who he is, Antonio Brown. But you know, that's I guess the big thing here. Brady is probably the best quarterback to ever do it, but he is still human as much as we like to pretend like he's not. And so that's what you saw here. Now, I do think that this could be the beginning of the end of the Bucs if they don't figure out some of these injury problems.
Oh yeah.
But I don't think we just write them off. They still have a great record. It's still Tom Brady, and they're still the reigning champs. So,
their secondary was decimated by a number of injuries. You point. It's a great thing to point that out there, Winston. So, maybe that's what Washington kind of saw in the film, the game film leading up to this matchup with them, and figured out how Heineke could take advantage of those little moments, those little spots, because he led a number of long drives, not just that 91-yard you were talking. Also a 71-yarder in the third quarter. So he led a number of long drives that took time off the clock. It was old school Washington football, that ground and pound, dink and dunk, waste a lot of time and get the touchdown approach to this game. That was surprising. And yes, Brady bounced back in that second half, but it wasn't enough. So I don't know where to go with this. Is this an anomaly? If we play like this every game, I think we'd be in a better position as a team, but for whatever reason, the Washington football team can't put performances like this together, can't string a few together back to back to back. I mean, the Falcons killed us, for God's sake. So it's mind-blowing to me to see us play this way against one of the great teams and not be able to get up and play this way against some of the lesser teams. So I don't know what you take from this. And losing Chase Young is a huge blow here for the defense.
Is it official that he's torn his ACL?
Yeah.
Out for the season.
Dude. I mean, here's a question. Would you rather, because we'll get to, I guess we already covered Seattle. Would you rather lose Chase Young or be dealing with DK Metcalf?
I'd rather deal with DK Metcalf because at least he's catching touchdowns in between getting suspended. So I don't mind that.
Not this past week. Motherfucker blew my chances of trying to make a comeback in fantasy, bro.
I hear you, man. I hear you. Well, try writing Mike Williams for 5 weeks, and all of a sudden that guy's getting 4 points a game. God. Anyway, Haley, any final words on this one? Anything to wrap up?
No, I mean, a lot of people are comparing the Bucs to last year about how they came off a bye week and then won all the rest of their games, basically. And that they came off a bye week and then lost, and then lost the week before.
Yeah.
But we make a fair point with no,
go ahead.
Am I back?
You're good now. You froze for a second. You're back.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say, but I think Winston made a point. He's out Gronk, he's out Antonio Brown. I think if he gets his weapons back, makes a big difference. So I don't know. Yeah. It'll be interesting to see.
Good point. Cameron Brate ain't Gronk. Neither is OJ Howard. So You might get one of this face for a couple more weeks. That's for sure. You might get that face.
well, I mean, we're going to get to the Niners. Kittle being back was huge.
Yeah, I know.
You know what I'm saying? Like quarterbacks, the young quarterbacks are obsessed with their tight ends, but these vets too, if you got a weapon like a Gronk, a Kittle, a Kelsey, anything, bam. Like,
absolutely. Speaking of great tight ends, at least good performances from tight ends. Hunter Henry getting 2 touchdowns for the Patriots. Let's move on to that game here. The Patriots humbled the Browns 45-7. I say this, Matt Thomas and Dom, if you guys are watching, you wanted your Browns in the first block last week. Sorry we couldn't do it. Well, we're going to put them in the first block this week, and that's because they got destroyed by these Patriots 45-7. I mean, New England was 2-4 a few weeks ago, and now they are in a playoff contention at 5-5, I think, at this point. So it's incredible what they've been able to do, or 6-4, I think, what they're at. What's been incredible what they've been able to do here, Haley, with Mac Jones. Mac Jones's QBR has increased over the last 4 weeks, as opposed to the previous 4 weeks. And this was an absolute destruction on both sides of the ball and on special teams as well. Ramondre Stevenson, who I think just cleared the concussion protocol, rushed for a career-high 100 yards and 2 scores. Nobody had him on their fantasy team. And yes, the Browns are playing without Nick Chubb. They're playing without some players as well. AJ Green was out. But in the end, you still got to show up, and they did not show up. So Baker looked kind of lost half the time. You tell me, what do you feel here, Haley? Is this the ascension of your quarterback there and the descendants of Baker Mayfield?
I mean, I think the Patriots are pulling out some crazy shit, getting better every week. It's so cool to watch because no one expected Belichick and a rookie QB to be getting better every week. I think a lot of people were like, well, there's no way it's sustainable. Like, this kid's just brand new, blah, 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 but whatever. Giving Belichick all the credit you can, because he's clearly started to trust in Mac Jones and started giving him adult plays that now he's able to adult plays, not the toddler plays anymore. But I think they were trying to, they were feeling it out, getting ready. And then all of a sudden it was, watching that was great. And then they even put Hoyer in for a second to get Jacoby Myers his first touchdown, which was so cool. And I don't know, that team just looks like they're having fun. So for me, being able to watch a team like that get better and better is really fun to watch. I mean, obviously with Mayfield, that was, then he was out in the third with with the injury. And our defense is rough like that. We come out and we go to work. That's just what the Pats do. And we're great at that right now. And it's fantastic. But I think any QB is going to be in that situation where they're going to get hit. And so unfortunately Mayfield was the target. So
But I don't know if you're a good team, you're able to put points on the board. When Mayfield went out, he'd only thrown for 71 yards in the game in the third quarter. So, I mean, that kind of shows you, because the Browns are a playoff team, and quarterbacks are, and we've seen with Tom Brady and other quarterbacks, you make do with lesser receivers if you're good enough. And I think this exposed, in my opinion, Winston, this exposed Baker Mayfield, as he had one good year last year, and that may be it for his career. Because if he's hurt again for an extended period of time again, I don't know that he's coming back to this Browns team. And they were all complaining about the coaching afterwards. Oh, it's the coach. At some point, you got to take responsibility for the play on the field for yourself as a player. And it just seems to be always the coach is the problem. The coach is the problem. It's not us. And I don't know. I just feel like you got to have some pride here.
There's a lot going on, man. I mean, all the Browns fans are like, get OBJ out of here. He's a cancer. Or your organization is just kind of a dumpster fire. No offense. Where you've had it together for a while. Yeah. But it just hasn't worked out. So I first want to give the props to the Patriots. That if you go and look at Haley, you did the same thing with the Cowboys. You were like, this hurts, but let's actually look at their roster of games here. So, some of the wins are trash. Let's be real. I mean, the Jets, the Texans, the Panthers, fine. But let's look at these games that they lost
Right.
that were actually super close. They barely lost to Tom earlier in the season, where they actually held Tom down and almost beat him. They barely lost to the Cowboys. It came down to an OT pass that was beautiful, mind you, but led to also an injury on Dak's part. But barely lost that one. And then they're beating not just the Jets twice and one with the shellacking, but you beat the Chargers, and arguably a very good playoff team. And you just took the Browns, like you said, and destroyed them. And they're also a playoff team. And before everybody goes, well, the Browns have God knows how many injuries, sure. But the Cowboys had that issue, and Cooper Rush stepped up and they did what they needed to do. And that was missing people on both the offensive and defensive lines. There have been plenty of the Cardinals, not including this week, didn't have Kyler the week before and Hopkins, and they figured it out. So there is something to be said about the fact that there is a next man up mentality where, yes, you may not have your superstar, so you may not be as good, but if you're a good team, you figure it out. And I was having a conversation with my boy Matt. I know he watches the show from time to time and stuff like that. A lot of them know him from Who Are They? Programming for the Schmodown and stuff like that. He's a huge Browns fan, and I was like, bro, there's a crossroads that Mayfield is at right now. And at best, he ends up being a Tony Romo. At worst, he ends up being a Carson Wentz. And what I mean by that is people were like, oh, Romo, or they were like, oh, Baker, he's injured. And he had to do, and it was like, yeah, do you understand how many seasons Romo, unless it was super serious, was playing with broken ribs and a Kevlar vest, and he still was putting up insane numbers. And while people love to give him crap, I don't always fault him for certain plays, because I'm like, bro, you have broken ribs. You've been hit by these 400-pound men multiple times in a game. If by the last play of the game, you're like, and then it ends up as an interception, I'm kind of like, well, okay. But if you end up like Carson, where you had some great stuff at the start, and now you're going to be plagued by injuries and bad play, where you have a few flashes of brilliance, you don't want to end up like that. And I am concerned that Mayfield looks to be pointing more towards that direction, because he has regressed this year. It's not like it's a sophomore slump. This is his fourth year in the league, fifth year in the league. So
Stormy points it out correctly. I've been saying this since last year. You remember me saying this. Like Shannon Sharp said this week, Baker is better in commercials. I said this on our old sports show on Collider. I said, Baker spends more time preparing for the commercials than he does for the games. That's what it looks like to me. And here's another example. I mean, you do an incredible job last week demolishing the Bengals, but you can't step it up here in this game, and you get, at least to make it competitive, you're absolutely destroyed here by these Patriots. So, but Haley, I said this to you off camera before we started the show. What do you think if Belichick takes this team to the Super Bowl?
Okay, come on.
I'm throwing it out there.
They're going to make a playoff run. They're not going to the
Look, he's getting better every week. I'm just going to say this, and Patriots magic is nothing to sniff at. If they take them to the Super Bowl, I think this is a greater accomplishment than Tom Brady last year taking the Buccaneers to the Super Bowl.
But
right? It's a rookie quarterback.
Well, based off Winston's reaction, yes. Because that's something I believe is possible. And now I want it to happen just so I can sit here and rub it in your face.
Well, I hope that happens, but you've got to go through the Titans and the Bills twice. And you going to tell me you're going to take one of them teams out in the play? Come on, Haley.
I don't know. I mean, I'm a dreamer. Let's be real. So
Well, listen. Here's the setup for them. They play at Atlanta in a rematch of that Super Bowl next week. And then they play Tennessee at home. They could beat Tennessee at home. Tennessee doesn't have Derrick Henry. There's a possibility here. Plus, it's Vrabel against his old coach. I mean, that's kind of interesting in terms of that. They could get and then they play at Buffalo. That's the game. If they somehow get a victory against that Buffalo team in Buffalo, that's a psychological edge that they own now going into the playoffs. And then they welcome them Buffalo back at home as well. And they end meaninglessly with the Dolphins. So this could be an interesting situation for the Patriots. If they go how many games is left here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. If they go 6-1 or 5-2, They could win the division here and be sitting pretty with a home game for the playoffs.
You act like the Bills don't exist in
No,
the AFC.
I'm not saying.
You
the Bills get beat.
like they're not. Yes, but they're not going to lose the division. I honestly think.
You really don't think they're going to lose the division? Okay.
No, the Patriots will have to kind of win out and get a wild card here. Because hold on, let me pull up Buffalo's schedule because that's the thing.
They've got the Colts at home. They're at the Saints. Then they've got the Patriots at home. Then they're at Tampa Bay. Then the Panthers, who could be revitalized here with the Cam Newton renaissance. Then they're at the Patriots. Then the Falcons. Then the Jets. So both teams have winnable games on this schedule here. So
there is 3 games that are deadly for Buffalo, and the rest should be easy because the Saints have nothing left, dude. Like there's no you didn't figure out a quarterback situation,
right?
You have no receiving core. Kamara was out, and who knows how long that's going to be. So I'm not worried about the Saints for them. Okay. I'm not really worried about the Colts. They've been hot and cold. It depends on what you're getting in that regard. You got to worry about both games of the Patriots because it's a division game. So Belichick knows that team, as well as Buffalo knows New England. So it really depends on who's really on top of their P's and Q's that particular way. And then you got to worry about the Bucs. If Brady gets his weapons back and they bounce back. The Panthers, it's good to see Cam back, but until I see Cam actually play quarterback, let's be real here. He didn't really play quarterback. They put him in for specialized packages because he's got to relearn the book.
Yeah.
So until that happens, none of these games are that threatening for the Bills, especially when you consider some of the wins they had. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like they had an unfortunate loss to the Titans, but that was close.
It was, but they lost to the Jaguars, man, 9-6.
Yeah, but we lost to Denver 30-16, and honestly, it was 30-0. We just got some garbage time crap at the end. So like. That remember, last week was a week of parity. That was not how the NFL actually looks this season. That was a really bad game on Buffalo's part, but like we also had a really bad game, and look what happened.
All right. What Haley?
I mean, again, I'm not gonna get my hopes up too high, just because I am being realistic. But I am also sitting here going, never underestimate Bill fucking Belichick because he will. You can't underestimate the guy. He's he's just not real. Mm-hmm. And I think what he's done with a rookie QB and to get better every week, I mean, right now they're looking pretty damn good. So if they can keep this momentum, I'm interested.
That defense is scary AF. I don't care what anyone says. They spend a lot of money on that defense, and Belichick has that defense hungry and swarming. And if Mac Jones can start to get more confident past that game manager level, and he's starting to, I mean, there were some beautiful throws yesterday on point, on the corner with those. Beautiful. And so in my mind, I'm like, if this kid is getting more confident every game, plus afterwards, you're watching the press conference, that is not a kid that's intimidated by the situation. And so if that starts to come, if you've got a second coming of Tom Brady here, this would just drive the AFC insane because Belichick is so brilliant at this. And so I think they're going to win the division. I put it now. I love Buffalo.
I'll put money on this. I don't think they're winning the division because I think that New England's got 5 more victories in them looking at your schedule.
Okay.
I think you're losing. I'll give you a 50-50 split with the Bills. I think you take it at home. I think you lose it in Buffalo. And I think they lose. I think they lose. Look at that
Haley face. Look at that Haley face. I love she was.
And I think you lose to the Titans. I think you win all the other games. I think you beat the Falcons. I think you beat the Colts. I think you beat the Jaguars. I think you beat the Dolphins. And again, you take 1 from Buffalo. But then Buffalo's schedule, man. I think that again they lose 1 to y'all, and I think they probably lose to Tom. But then they win Colts, Saints, other Patriots game, Panthers, Falcons, Jets. So that's 6, and you're already behind half a game. So I just don't. I'm sorry. You'll make the playoffs, though. You'll make the playoffs. I just don't think you're winning the division.
I have to say, this year has not been what anyone thought. So who knows? At this point, it's anyone's game. No, you don't.
I knew about all this. You don't. All of this right here. I knew this.
All right. Let's move on to our next game here. We'll keep tabs on them, of course, as we go along. But let's talk about the Chiefs here. Speaking of teams that are kind of surprising everybody, the Chiefs were kind of surprising them in a bad way. Now the Chiefs are back to felt like after this game, at least, and this is a divisional game. They look like they're back to their form from before the last 2 years here. 41-14. They crushed these Raiders. Patrick Mahomes threw 50 times in this game for 406 yards and 5 touchdowns. This wasn't even close, for God's sakes. This was insane how much they dominated these Raiders. And the Raiders have played them tough the last few years. So this was really a surprise on so many levels here. And then Derek Carr did throw 2 touchdowns, but the Raiders were only held to 82 yards in the first half, which is their fewest in a home game in 8 years. And they were 1 for 9 on third downs to fall down double digits in the first half of the 5th time this season. They brought in Deshaun Jackson, Winston. He caught a pass and then fumbled it. So it's just like, oh my God. So nothing went right.
That hurt my soul, bro. I felt so bad for Deshaun because what's been frustrating for me is he keeps playing on teams that I don't like.
Yeah.
And I want to like this kid. And like, I mean, he's a grown ass man, honestly. I think we're the same age. But like, I want him to succeed. So seeing that pass, I was like, yes or no? Because it looks like from the angle when the play first happened, he just thought it was someone next to him and he lateraled it, but someone came in and punched it up from underneath him when they show it from the other angle. So first I was like, Deshaun, what the fuck are you doing? And then, so here's the thing, man. I think the Raiders had a lot of promise. I think there is too much drama this season. And I think you have lost a head coach and 2 star players. This was again a division game and they've been in disarray and they just lost to the Giants. So like, I didn't think that they really had that much of a shot against Kansas City, even though Kansas City has been playing pretty poorly. I do think this is the type of game that gives you the self-esteem to go on a run. But I think the jury is still out until we see them play a team. So that's why we're going to be a really good test for them, and it's going to be a good test for us as well. Until you see them play a team that's got that actual like shot and go in the distance. Yeah. And to be honest with you, we might be the only team that they have left. It depends on if the Bengals bounce back.
Or the Chargers.
On what the Chargers or the Steelers, what they want to do. The rest of these teams. Yeah. You got what, 3-4 division games left. So those can always be a toss up, but you know what I'm saying? Like, I think the only like team that everyone's like, they could win it all that they have left right now is us. The rest of the teams are kind of up in the air. So I'm very curious to see what Kansas City does with the rest of the season.
I'm seeing a Chiefs Patriots playoff matchup. That's what I'm seeing in my head. I'm just putting it out there.
I can see that.
Haley,
yeah.
Do you take do you think Chiefs are back on target here, or was this a divisional game? Some people in the chat are commenting they caught the Raiders to start the second half. The Raiders are never good starting the second half of the season, and the Chiefs always seem to be good here in the second half. Also, in the second half of the game, it was 17-14 third quarter. Then the Chiefs just poured it on. So does it feel like this is a return to form, or is this kind of an anomaly game? And this is their 3rd win in a row here. They beat the Packers, obviously without Aaron Rodgers, but they beat the Giants barely. And they beat Washington a couple weeks before the Giants game. So they were getting some victories. They're starting to win more than they lose here. But do you take something away from this game that gives you confidence that they're back to form? Or is it an illusion?
Yeah, I mean, is it an illusion? I mean, this entire season is an illusion. I don't know. I thought Patrick Mahomes looked freaking amazing. I thought he looked like Patrick Mahomes. I think we've been missing a lot of that. I thought he did great. I thought just Darrell Williams. I thought everyone just man, I really liked watching them play for the first time in a long time. But they looked pretty back to, I guess, normal. I guess you'd have to see. I for sure think the Raiders were not going to be tough to beat. I think that, like Winston said, they've got drama, and I think that they're just not going to come back from all of the shit that's happened. I can't see them. Yeah. No, not this year for sure. Like, definitely not. But I am.
Yeah.
Oh no, I'm just like wicked excited to watch that game against the Cowboys next week, because that could prove to be a really good freaking game.
Yeah. Oh, and no, I think it's going to be fantastic. I think it's going to be fantastic.
Ooh, I'm going to message you and be like, dude, you seeing this?
But what if you didn't? Unless we're winning, then by all means. But I will say this is the one thing to keep an eye on. Obviously, Patrick had an 83.4 QBR rating. He went 35 for 50, 406 yards, 5 touchdowns. If you watch the game, though, and this is where stats can be an illusion, he had 3 horrendous passes.
Yeah.
And he is lucky that those interceptions were dropped. Yeah. They were bad. And I was like, bro, you have to stop living on this razor's edge, because all it takes is the Raiders to not be in their head to actually snag those balls down. And this game looks completely different.
Yeah, that's a fair point. But I mean, the tools that he needs to show up showed up. Travis Kelce had 119 yards. Darrell Williams, as you said there, Haley, 101 yards, 1 touchdown. Tyreek Hill, 83 yards and 2 touchdowns. And then on the running side, Darrell Williams did his thing as well, 43 yards rushing on 11 carries. Derek Carr led the Raiders in rushing. That's not a good thing. That is not going to help your team.
That's not good.
I mean, Kenyon Drake had 16 yards. Josh Jacobs had 16 yards, both of them. That is not going to help your team. So, yeah, they were 17-14 in the third quarter, but that clearly they were being set up here to take a big loss in this game, and that's what eventually happened. And so, I don't know. I agree. I mean, like, they won 2 after Gruden was fired, and Gruden is now suing the NFL and I think the NFLPA as well, or somebody suing somebody other. The Raiders. He's suing the Raiders and the NFL for lost salary. But after the Henry Ruggs thing, they've lost 2 in a row now after the loss of Henry Ruggs. So that's bad juju. That's bad karma. Like, I really believe the Chiefs lost to the Buccaneers last year because of Andy Reid's kid getting involved in that accident, killing those children, or hurting those children. And so to me, that's just a bad karma, bad energy to put on a team. And the Henry Ruggs thing, that is just awful. And so it's tough to bounce back from that. And Carr's comments, I know some people defended Carr's comments. I didn't like Carr's comments, and it felt like, boom, here we go again. You're courting this negative energy on the team. It's just how I look at things. I'm crazy like that. Anyway,
I agree. I'm all about the karma. I am all about the karma. Yeah,
you know what I'm talking about. Yeah,
100%. We're LA people. We believe in that shit. You know.
That's true. It's very true. All right, let's move on to our next game here. And I'm sorry. We got a Streamlab that came through. Ladies and gentlemen, send in these Streamlabs. Give us some love here on the show. The address is there on the screen. It's pinned in the chat, and it's in the description of this video. Dwayne Turu says, "Hey, John, Winston, and Haley, congratulations on your teams having great wins." Oh, that's right. All 3 of us won. That's true. Anyone willing to predict any scandals this week? More Rodgers chaos, or Snyder finally getting kicked out of the NFL, or something else?
Snyder is unfortunately also Teflon. He's Teflon Dan. Like, that's not. Let's be real. He should have been ousted a long time ago. So unless you catch him on a live stream and he murders somebody, and even then, I think he would.
Maybe not even then.
I just don't. Trying to predict drama.
Yeah,
I don't know. I mean, we've gone through most of the people that were probably going to be anti-vax or hiding their vaccinations or whatever. I don't know.
Why are people getting? Why is Nick Chubb getting COVID? Why is Big Ben getting COVID? Wear your fucking masks. Practice your social distancing. Just mind blowing to me, these guys getting this shit, because they're costing their teams, and it's different than what's his face, Rodgers, who lied. But other people, I mean, it's just confusing to me this late in the game for sure. I will say this: I heard from an interesting source that Snyder is very close to selling the team, and that the reason he took control of the entire ownership of the team is so that he could sell it and get the most bang for his buck for it. So I'm just saying that's what I'm hearing. So there may be news coming down the road in the next few weeks, but I've heard from someone who has not been wrong a number of times in certain predictions ahead of time, that's in the works way, way behind the scenes. So who knows? May happen by the time we start the new season, but I hope it does. Haley, you got any predictions for scandals this week?
Patriots beat the Falcons.
Oh,
that's not.
oh
I mean,
my God.
it's not a scandal.
That's a scandal. If y'all, I'm gonna tell you this, Haley. If you lose to the Falcons,
that's a scandal.
Fuck you going to the Super Bowl. Y'all might have to figure out how they let your team stay in Boston. Y'all might riot.
Oh my God. No more foot videos. No Bill Belichick foot videos. Any more of those coming on? Oh, yeah.
Oh, let's talk about
videos. What the hell?
You never seen those? You need to look that up. Oh man, you need to look that up. Brian Ball said this is for Winston's phrasing drop. Oh, thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
All right, let's see here. Let's move. Oh yeah, see, Haskell has a few. Someone on the Raiders gets pulled over for DWI just so everyone can be like, really? Are you effing kidding me? Nah, I don't think so. Don't say it. Listen, you need to worry about your Jets, Edward. Don't worry about the Raiders. Focus on your Jets. That team is an entire scandal from top to bottom. All right. Anyway, let's move on here. Cam Newton is back, ladies and gentlemen. He scored twice in his return to Carolina for these Panthers as they beat the Cardinals without Kyler Murray, without DeAndre Hopkins here, 34-10. Cam Newton did not play quarterback full-time for the team during this game, but he did come off the bench, took a snap on third down in his first play of the game and scored from 2 yards out, did a whole Superman thing and screamed, I'm back. Then scored again later on in the game. He threw a 2-yard touchdown pass to Robbie Anderson, the old Jet there, and the Panthers ended up winning this game over these Cardinals. So Haley, I go to you first on this one. I'm PJ Walkers, who played quarterback for the Panthers there, 22 of 29, 467 yards. All right. Do we think the Cam Newton return is the spark plug for these Panthers?
Hello.
All right. So do we think he is the guy to come back and put them in position here and maybe launch a second half revival for these Panthers?
I was like, what the fuck just happened? Oh God. I mean, I only know, I've watched Cam with the Pats and obviously that did not end well. So yeah, I mean, he just didn't vibe with the team. It just didn't end up working out. I like Cam Newton. I like his energy, his style. He's crazy. Yeah. I think that's what makes him fun. I think him coming out after, what did he say? He was eating a box of cereal on his couch like 3 days before the game, which I freaking love. Just sitting there eating like Cheerios or something. What would he eat? Fruit Loops? I don't know.
Captain Crunch?
I mean, considering the hats he wears, that checks out.
Yeah.
Right? That's what I would think. Like something colorful is what he'd be eating with a bunch of sugar in it. But anyways, I don't know. I think the first 2 touchdowns coming off of not really knowing much about the team, I thought that was great. I think that's always a good sign that he was able to do that. I think his energy is something that team needs. I know McCaffrey was like, oh my God, that his energy is just something else. So that I think it'll be interesting to see what happens with him there for sure. Although I just don't know if I trust him so much as a QB.
That's a good question. This is what I want to throw it over to Winston now. And Haley, that's a great point to jump off from. Do you trust him being a part of this team? He's only 32, by the way. People think he's like too old for a quarterback. Warren Moon played till he was 75, so he's 32 years old.
Well,
I mean, he was the Joe Lewis of quarterbacks.
I get what you're saying.
Is he going to replace PJ Walker? Is he going to be the future for a year or two for these Panthers? Do you think?
Here's the thing. I think yes, Cam may only be 32, but Cam played more like a Vic, where instead of being as fast as Vic, he still took those shots and he can handle it because he's bigger. But we saw what that ultimately did to his body. Yeah. And then there was a lot of injuries he was dealing with and surgeries and all that kind of stuff. And again, as I said, I mean, I forgot one of the touchdowns. I thought they were both rushing. I know one of them was a pass, but it was a goal line situation. So like, it's not like it's goal line scores are different. Yeah. But they're significantly easier than lots of field space, trying to figure out what the defense is doing. There's only a certain number of options for goal line stands.
Yeah.
So until I actually see him quarterback, I'm happy that he had this comeback. I don't know what this team looks like yet. I think the real story, and this just makes me feel sad for old boy, all the reports are like the Panthers are treating Sam Darnold like he ain't coming back the rest of
Yeah.
the year, and I'm like, damn, like
Yeah.
Kobe just gone. Like,
Yeah, he's done.
I'm not gonna pretend like he had a good season. He started
Right.
off hot, and then it just.
Then Sam Darnold showed up. Darnold showed up. He started off hot,
show up.
and the defenses had enough film on him playing for Carolina, and they knew exactly what tendencies to take advantage of. And Sam has no other gear. Sam's got a gear for surprising you, but once you get used to him, he's got no adjustment. And that's what you were seeing here. And yeah, I would not be surprised if they're Tanya Harding him off screen to make sure he doesn't come back in this situation, because they just want to go with what they've got. And McCaffrey coming back, he looked like he didn't miss a beat, man. He looked fantastic in the game. Thank God, from one of my fantasy teams. He looks great. So I'm all like, well, maybe they can make this work. Kind of a pseudo University of Florida back in the 90s approach, where you've got two quarterbacks kind of rolling through and you're not knowing what you're going to get every drive. And then you got McCaffrey really messing your defense up when you're playing against him. So could be a surprising turn. Yeah.
It could be interesting. I am very curious. I am so curious about how CMC, that to me is the biggest question mark, because I forgot he's back. So that actually does change some of my predictions for some of those games. Not a lot.
Can he stay healthy? Yeah, right.
That's the issue. They ran him to be an injury prone dude. Right. So because they weren't just running him, they were putting him in both positions. They were making him run the ball exclusively and be the best receiver on the team. That's why I'm now worried about Kamara. Because it was one thing when he was mainly running and was good to come out of the backfield, but you had a receiving core so you could spread the wealth. Yeah. The minute you make them do everything, you are asking for injury, and he's now had two massive ones, one that was season-ending and one that took away half of his season. So I am very curious about what happens with CMC.
Yeah, and we play Cam again next week with the Washington football team. We play him coming back, so that'll be interesting to see Ron Rivera going up against Cam Newton for a second season in a row, because I think he was with the Patriots last year when they played us. So this will be a fascinating situation. They're 5-5 right now, and they're in the playoffs. They're in the 7th spot, which makes the playoffs this year. And they've got us. They've got the Dolphins, Falcons, Bills, Buccaneers, Saints, and then Buccaneers twice. So they play the Buccaneers twice in the last 3 weeks of the season. That could be the death knell for them. Or if they sneak one out, that could be the reason they sneak in as a wild card. So you just never know with these Panthers. We shall see. We shall see. All right, let's move on to our next game here, and our last game in the first block, and then we got to run through the next game so we can finish out here before we got to go. The Titans continue their dominance of the NFL here, going to 8-2, beating these Saints 23-21. Hey, Trevor Siemian, I think, did a really nice job for these Saints 2 weeks in a row now. Who knows if he's going to be the answer for the rest of the year, but he did a nice job with these Saints, even though they didn't get the job done here or last week against the Falcons, still kept them in this game. Ryan Tannehill ran and threw for touchdowns, and they held off the Saints here 23-21. Tennessee is the first team since the Eagles, 2003 Eagles, to go 7-0 overall against 2020 playoff teams in the next season for that. So, I mean, the Saints were without Alvin Kamara, without Teron Armstead, without CJ Gardner-Johnson, and as I said, without Jameis, who's gone for the year. They actually outgained Tennessee 373 to 264 yards, but it wasn't enough in the end here. So, I mean, the Titans got the job done, Winston. Do you think this is a team now in the AFC? You talk about the Bills, you talk about the Patriots, you talk about the Chiefs, but here's the Titans just quietly doing their thing without Derrick Henry for a second week in a row. Is this team scarier than we think?
I don't think so. I think that as people are still trying to adjust what a Derrick Henry-less Titans looks like, they're taking advantage of that. People are going to need time to readjust, I believe. I still think that they are a playoff team. I still think that they are a high seed playoff team because they have so many victories already. Yeah. And I think that they still have games on their docket that are really good, but Tannehill didn't blow the roof off the place. Yeah, 213 yards and a touchdown. You know what I mean? Yeah. You didn't have the same performance out of that running core as you did by having AP come in that first game and just shock everybody. Mm-hmm. So I just think it will deter. Now that we've kind of seen them go and they're starting to regulate, I'm very curious to see if people realize that running core is not something to really worry about the way that it was, and you just start abusing Tannehill. And if you just start abusing Tannehill, I don't know. And their defense is good.
Yeah.
It is a very solid defense, but it's not like the Broncos when they won the Super Bowl, you know? It's not like one of these all-time great Belichick defenses. It's not like the Steelers or the Ravens when they're on top of their game. So, like, if they become that, they remain in the conversation. Right. But if they stay about where they are and Tannehill starts to decline, I am concerned that they're going to start to fall off a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, Brinson brings up an excellent point here, Haley. Tannehill did not look good against the Saints yesterday. It looked like the Saints were figuring him out as the game went along, and he looked groggy. He looked a little slow, a little shaken up. So, I mean, remember, this is still Tannehill from Miami. Yes, he did a great job last year and the year before, but we may be looking at the tail end of Tannehill's career. So, do you think the Titans are doing this thing with smoke and mirrors, or do you think they're able to pick up after Derrick Henry and take care of business?
I think it's a little smoke and mirrors, to be honest. I mean, I think their defense is what saved them yesterday. I mean, they made some huge sacks that caused the Saints to get out of field goal range. I mean, Saints didn't play great. They had a bunch of fumbles. Their receiving wasn't awesome. I think the Titans just, it felt like this show where you're questioning, are they good? Are they not good? Or is it they're moving, or is it it's just interesting to watch, because you sit there and then you analyze it. You're like, I don't think they're that great. And I think Winston made a bunch of good points, because I don't know if this is sustainable. Let's be real. By the end of that game, they look like trash. And I mean, yeah. I personally thought they did.
Yeah, you're going to play them in 2 weeks, Haley, so in New England. So
yeah, that's also, I'm just preparing myself for trash.
Oh my God. Winston, retort, please.
Wait, retort to who? What
to her calling them trash.
The Tennessee Titans. I mean, we'll see. I'm laughing at Havoc, who's like, the Saints and the Rams are top defense. Get the fuck out. Yeah, but we're going to talk about the Rams in a minute.
Yeah.
Did they look like a top-tier defense yesterday? Yeah. And again, for the Saints, yes, they are a top-tier defense. But once again, you are dealing now where their offensive weapons are depleted. That defense will get worn out. You need an offense that gives the defense time to breathe in order for that to properly work. And so that's why I'm the Saints, again, I think just like if you were running a race, there is a certain level of momentum or velocity that's going before you actually full-blown stop.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? And I truly believe that the Saints playing at the level they're playing, I think unless they figure out a receiving core issue, the Titans, the way that they're playing, I think that they are running hot right now, and they're going to start to slow down. That is what I'm saying. Are the Titans bad? Are they trash? That's a hot take if I've ever heard one. But
I didn't say they were trash. I said they started playing like
no, that's true.
it. I never said the team was trash.
Yeah.
That was great.
All I'm telling
I think the second half, everything kind of
bulletin board
started falling apart.
Yeah, but I said it before because people keep saying the rumor is Derrick Henry might come back. If Derrick Henry comes back for the playoffs, this is a completely different conversation. But until that is confirmed, I'm not resting my laurels on that. That's the kind of thing that you do because you're a huge fan and you're like, we still got it, dog. We still got it, dog. If you give me proof that that's happening, I will give you that all day. But I said the same thing about the Browns last year. The Browns are playing well, but until they show me in an actual high-stakes situation, I'm not going to put all my money on the Browns. Until you tell me for sure Derrick is coming back first playoff game, I'm not giving you that. I can't, because we know what honestly makes that ship sail.
Yeah. That's true. Well, I mean, they're on a 6-game winning streak right now, having beaten teams like the Bills, the Chiefs, the Rams, and the Saints here. Now they play the Texans, then the Patriots, then the Jaguars, then the Steelers, then the 49ers, Dolphins, and Texans. So they could go on a bit of a mini run here where they maybe lose one or two of those games, and they're in prime position to have the number 1 seed throughout the playoffs in the AFC. We shall see. And then get Derrick Henry back. So that could be the combo. Or as IMAX is pointing out, he's saying Tannehill looks like he's back playing for the Dolphins again. If that Tannehill shows up, these Titans, as Winston said, might be in some trouble here in the last stretch of the season. All right, let's move on to the other games here real quick, and let's run through them and see which one you guys want to talk about real quick. We only have a few minutes left in the show. The 49ers beat the Rams 31-10. Matt Stafford, for the second week in a row, threw back-to-back interceptions and lost this game here to the 49ers. The Bills crushed the Jets 45-17. Josh Allen threw for 366 yards and 2 touchdowns, with Stephon Diggs get 162 yards receiving. The Vikings upset the Chargers. Cousins threw for 294 yards and 2 touchdowns. Justin Jefferson, oh my God, if you have him on fantasy, you must be loving your life. The Ravens upset the Dolphins here 22-10. Tua came in relief of Jacoby Brissett and led them on Thursday night over these Ravens. That was a shocking game to watch. The Colts beat the Jaguars here. Jonathan Taylor ran for 116 yards and a touchdown to lead the Colts. The Eagles beat the Jaguars 30-13, with Jalen Hurts combining for over 200 yards of offense to take the Eagles to 4-6. And I'm starting to hear people talk about the Eagles for the wild card. Y'all shut the fuck up. Y'all slow down. And then the Lions and the Steelers had the most saddest tie I've ever seen in the NFL, 16-16. Big Ben not playing for the Steelers. Mason Rudolph sitting in here for it, and Jared Goff still couldn't beat this team. So, Haley, dealer's choice here. Which one do you want to talk about first? Then Winston, we'll go to you. Haley?
Oh my God. We got to talk about the Rams and 49ers game, in my opinion. And mainly and that almost interception that was ass caught, was priceless.
Oh, wow.
That's a good point. But yeah, what do you think about it? What do you take away? I mean, the Rams now 2 weeks in a row looking very mortal.
Yeah, but for me, this was just great to watch Jimmy G play the way he did. I thought he played great. I just loved the interception Ward had and ran it back. And I don't know. I think the Rams, it's interesting to watch because they started so strong and now they're just kind of falling apart. We kind of see that with these teams that started out strong and they're just kind of falling back, and we've seen it a few times now. So I think it's going to be interesting to watch that. I thought OBJ would get more playing time in some or just show up in some way. They didn't really utilize that. So I was interested that part. I was So there was a lot, but definitely the Niners stole the show. And for me, just also as a Jimmy G fan. So
fair enough. Winston, we look at these Rams. It does not get easier from here, man. They play at the Packers. Then 2 weeks later, they're at the Cardinals. Then they play Seattle in Seattle. Then they play at Minnesota. You don't know what you're going to get in Minnesota. Then they're at the Ravens. And oh boy, they play the 49ers again in Los Angeles to end the season. So this could be the beginning of a descent for these Rams here. It does not get any easier. And Matt Stafford, the Lions' Matt Stafford, may have jumped up for these last 2 weeks, and he may be here to stay, which should scare the Rams and Sean McVay. What do you think?
So for the Rams, it's hard to say.
Okay.
Just from the sense that, yes, you got to play the Packers. You've got two more divisional games.
Yep.
I think that's the first thing to take away from this Niners game. This was a divisional game. And once again, we've talked about how knowing a team so intimately, that because you play them twice a year and things don't change that drastically, if there was ever going to be a game that from a team that shouldn't have beat them that they would lose to, it would be the Niners.
Okay.
Maybe Seattle, but I would put more money on the Niners just because you have more health coming in there, whereas, Russell just came back.
Right.
So if I was going to see this happening, this would be the game that I think it would happen. I do think there is some concern because Matt Stafford is starting to look a little more pedestrian. He was flying high the first half.
Yeah.
I'm concerned. But I also think OBJ just got there a few days ago.
Right.
And Von Miller just came off that ankle injury.
Yeah.
So if you give them time to get adjusted to their units, if you give them time to really get their flow back and in Von's case, really get off that ankle fully healthy, I think that they go back to being a very dangerous team. But you're right. That schedule is terrifying. And as far as the Niners, you might pull off a couple more victories because you got kind of a soft schedule. The Jaguars, the Vikings are hit or miss. The Seahawks, the Falcons, the Texans. Those are all winnable games there. Yeah. So who knows? Right. But the Niners haven't necessarily shown me anything this season that makes me go, wow, wild. This is the first time they did that this year. Yeah. So we'll see.
You wonder if they had a more consistent quarterback, what could happen for these 49ers? That's because they've got a great team with a lot of, no offense to Jimmy G and his,
No, I agree 100%. That's why I was like, I love seeing you play well. That's where that comes from.
Because it's a rarity.
Yes.
Winston, what game do you want to hit on real quick before we wrap up?
I was gonna pick Niners Rams, but because she picked that, I gotta go with the Lions Steelers. Nothing is funnier in the world to me than having multiple professionals go, I didn't know you could tie in the NFL. I thought I came off the field after that fumble and I was like, all right, coach, I'm ready for the next OT quarter. Like, let's go. I'm ready to run the ball. Sir, the game is over. Wait, what? Oh shit. Like, it was like the saddest OT I have ever seen. And I've only seen highlights because again, I was traveling, but I was like, is this really happening right now? So I think that I know Roethlisberger wasn't in.
He wasn't. Mason Rudolph played, yeah.
But I think this speaks to the fact that I don't know if the Steelers have a shot of really doing it this season. How is it that you tied with the winless Lions?
Right.
Like, that have not been good. So, again, Roethlisberger clearly is still, even in his decline, better than Rudolph. But damn.
Yeah.
And they had a chance to win it in OT, and then if I can't remember the tight end who fumbled the ball right there as the clock ran down. It was crazy. What a terrible time to lose the ball. Haley, any thoughts on the Steelers-Lions game?
I think sad is the right word. I think
very true. Very true.
It was just, I had the same reaction Winston did when these guys didn't realize that, like, you can tie.
Like the whistle. All right, give me some water. Let's go out. No, that's game.
I thought this was like knowledge. Like, how do you not know? Like, this is. Oh my God. I died. I was like, I'm done. This game is killing me.
Yeah. I'll be real with you. It sounds kind of awful, but like, that reads of like dumb jock a little bit. Because I'm like, only from the sense of like, that is actually one of the more basic rules. There are more complicated rules that I would expect players maybe to not fully grasp, and that's on the coaches.
Right.
But how do you not know that there is, and especially when the ref says, he does a full speech for the whole stadium, we are about to go into an overtime period. There will be one period of 10 minutes, first team to score, whatever, and if nothing happens, this will end in a tie. That whole speech happened. So your ass wasn't listening clearly, which is fine. You're probably prepping for the game. But like, really?
Yeah, and the other part of this is it's not like they didn't grow up watching the NFL, and there have been ties almost every season in the NFL. So like, it's how can you not know? Yeah, it's kind of mind blowing to think about that. All right, since you guys touched those, we'll move past that here. I want to ask you guys one last thing in this comment here. We'll move over to the NBA real quick before we wrap up. Scottie Pippen. Apparently was pretty mad about The Last Dance. Apparently some people are really mad about that documentary, and he has written a new memoir called Unguarded, and he's gone after MJ, calling him an ungratefully selfish player. He also goes after Charles Barkley and Isaiah Thomas. I mean, I don't understand the Scottie. Scottie had a really great career and a fun life, I would imagine, but there's a lot of anger. He said about Michael Jordan, he said, I may go as far as to say Mike ruined basketball. In the 80s on the playground, you'd have everyone moving the ball around, passing out the team. That stopped in the 90s. Kids wanted to, quote, be like Mike. Well, Mike didn't want to pass, didn't want to rebound or defend the best player. He wanted everything done for him. That's why I always believe LeBron James was the greatest player this game has ever seen. He does everything and embodies what the game is truly about. Winston, I almost put my head through a wall when I read this quote because I'm like, what are you fucking talking about? For God's sakes, the reason he became so good, Scottie did, is because Jordan kept passing him the ball in the right spots, and Jordan was voted best defender on during a number of seasons in the NBA. So it's very quizzical that he would say shit like that. What do you think is going on here? Is this to sell books, or is this a grudge he's got an axe he's got to bury?
I think there's two things going on here at the same time. I think this is a scorned ex who is a hardcore like going at shit. But I also think that there could be a little bit of validity to it in the sense that like I would have to go back and look at all the games and see if Mike was intentionally like on some plays he was like, no, give me the best dude, I'm going to shut him down, or if he was, switching over. I think that there's also something to be said, and I sort of get like, Scottie he didn't get them to the finals, but he did lead them to the playoffs in Mike's absence. So it's not like he wasn't
conference championship, I think. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So like there's still something to be said about how good Scottie is. And I think what doesn't help is people keep trying to say Mike did it by himself. It's like, nah, Mike, as was proven, you needed Kerr to hit some of those shots. You needed Scottie to be Scott. You needed your Robin to bail out of it. Like Batman is still Batman. But there are a number of adventures where if Robin didn't come up and punch some dude with a gun to Batman's head, Batman is dead. Like, he literally needed his 13-year-old ward to come in and save his ass. And so I think that's a similar situation where Mike did, for the most part, do what Mike does. Yeah. But he still needed Scottie. He needed Rodman to be all over those boards like crazy. Right. He needed a lot of those things. So I think there is a little bit of truth to this, potentially. But I also think that Scottie is just real bitter. I think after years of Michael being in the spotlight and then to be put back in the spotlight with The Last Dance, and to like have the documentary kind of make him look like he was a soft diva, being like, "You're giving who the last shot? Then I'm gonna sit here and kiss my ass." Like, I don't think that made him feel very good. So,
or the migraine situation coming up again. Yeah, I'm sure he didn't want to relive any of that shit. Look, I've won 4 titles, Winston, but people still mention Bestman, and it gets me fucking mad. So I get it. I get it when you're in that mind. Like, some things you just still works on you. But with Jordan Haley, he was on the NBA all defensive first team, not second, third, way down the bottom, first team 9 times. He was also defensive player of the year in 88, and he led the league in steals for 3 years, twice in the 90s. So this seems like an odd thing that is not supported by any evidence at all for Scottie to say. What do you think about this?
I think it's ridiculous, but I think there's whatever. I will say I was reading comments, and I love this one where it says Salty Pippen instead of Scottie Pippen. And I loved that. I was like, oh, that's kind of fits the vein. I think, because like I think Pippen once said that he thought LeBron wasn't in the same rank as Kobe, or like that he wasn't the best player. I think he said that. So I think this comment, I think what is happening is to sell books. I think this is to stir up some controversy, to even get his name out there. Cause like, let's be real. But like, I think he needs to have this platform and say these things so that he's back in like a media frenzy. And now people are like, oh, I'm interested to read this. I want to see what maybe Jordan did do all of this stuff. Ooh, like,
right.
You know, so I think it's kind of like a little bit bogus to throw that out there, but I mean, there could be some, who knows? Now maybe I want to read the book. I don't know. Probably won't, but.
Well, okay.
The only thing I'll say, though, this is one of those things, even if you're just trying to sell a book or whatever, this is leaving a taste in people's mouth about Scottie, where he thinks that he's spilling the tea and everybody's like, ooh, Scottie, damn. I'm going to be real. It doesn't look good for Scottie. Like, this looks bad on him.
Exactly. Yeah. Like the fact that people are calling him Salty Pippen now, like, let's be real. That's not good. That cannot be good.
Yeah, that's right. And I took that personally.
He took it so personally, he walked himself off the show. Okay, well, John will hopefully be back in a minute. So for now, Haley, why don't you tell folks where they can find you, what you got going on, etc.
I was so good. He's just bye.
He came after me.
Scottie came and unplugged the internet. Is that what happened?
I'll show you, soft man. And he yanked the thing out of the cord out of the internet. For God's sakes. No, I was just saying that Jordan, I mean, now this meme has never applied more than, or that clip from the show. I took that personally. I got a feeling that Jordan's going to have a response here that Scottie is not going to like and is going to eviscerate him. So we shall see. Anyway, all right. Well, let's wrap it up here. Thank you all so much for joining us here for this live episode of Game Time. We appreciate it madly. As we're saying our goodbyes, please remember to hit a like on this video. We'd love to get as many likes as possible. So hit a like. If you're watching it later, and a lot of you do, hit a like and leave a comment down below. Let people know how you think Haley is doing. It's her second week on the show and all of that. Give some love to Winston as well. You can leave me out of it. I'm good. Haley, thank you so much for joining us again. Please tell people where they can find you and anything you got going on.
Thank you guys for having me. And yeah, you can find me on Instagram at Haley_Kahn, on Twitter, same handle. And yeah, reach out, DM, let me know how I'm doing, comment. I like it.
Yeah, respect. Winston A, please, what do you got?
Yeah, you can find me at the Swaggy Blurred wherever Swaggy Blurreds are sold. Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, all that good stuff. Tonight, Blurreds in the Hood, 6 p.m. Pacific. Tonight and Thursday night. Come join us. Hopefully, we'll have a guest tonight, and we hopefully might have one on Thursday as well. A pretty big one on Thursday. We got to wait and see if we get the thumbs up on that, as well as these Spider-Man rewatches that have been happening over on the SEN Presents Christian Harloff channel. I guess that's what he's named it now. It used to be the SEN Network, which was funny because that was a Schmodown Entertainment Network, but now it's Christian Harloff, or now it's Schmodown Presents Christian, or SEN Presents. I don't know. Whatever the fuck it is, those have been a lot of fun. Me, myself, and Coy were on to Far From Home. Then we've got one more in Spider-Verse before we get into No Way Home. So those have been really great. And the Citizen app. I'll be there Friday and Saturday making sure you are safe from all naked machete people.
Nice, brother.
Yeah.
Where's the Starbucks? All right, anyway. All right. You can follow me at The Rocha Says on Twitter and on Instagram. If you want to head on over to Twitch, you can follow, subscribe to me there. The Outlaw Nation. That's so much fun. If you want to join the Patreon, patreon.com/John Rocha. We got so much going on the Patreon. So much fun. There's also an Outlaw Nation movie trivia league that we've been doing as well. It's a lot of fun. If you want to come have some fun with us and go toe-to-toe with us on some movie trivia. All of that happening there. Please watch out for some more reviews, reactions. I might do a special Outlaw Nation show tonight if that Spider-Man trailer drops, to just talk about it and analyze it and break it all down. So come and join me live for that. And tomorrow, Geek Buddies. We'll be back with Geek Buddies. So there you go. All right, take care of yourselves. Be well, and we'll talk to you next time with another live episode of Game Time. Peace.